Hi folks, welcome to another GOTR or Gourmet on the Road update. And as you can see, we're shooting roadside. We're at a place called Rajvardhan Foods, which is in Jayanagar. A very different setting from the last video that we just released, which was the video about my big fat Mediterranean lunch at Fava Bistro. I'm going to put a link to that episode right here, so I hope you've caught that episode. So it's been a while since I've tasted good Maharashtrian food. It's been a while since I've tasted vada pav. And as I was looking for a place to taste vada pav, I discovered Rajvardhan Foods. Now this is a 20-year-old restaurant located here in South Bangalore, and I've dined here and I've eaten here. Dined doesn't seem like an appropriate word considering the setting, but I've eaten here many years ago. And when this popped up on my radar, I said, let's go back and try some Maharashtrian food. So we've tried a plethora of dishes, and all of that is going to come up in another episode of Gourmet on the Road. And also, before I tell you about what I tasted, I'm going to remind you that I'm going to talk about a couple of viewer comments that we've received on the YouTube channel, and I'm going to address a couple of questions, a couple of queries, and also look at a couple of shout outs. So coming back to what I tasted here, I of course tasted the vada pav, I tasted the dabeli, I tasted two very interesting breads or pancakes, if you want to call it, the thali peet, which comes from Maharashtra. Now the two versions here, one is a fasting thali peet, something that you eat when you're fasting. The other one is a normal onion thali peet. I also tasted the iconic Mumbai dish, which is the puri, bhaji and the shrikhand. The shrikhand was delicious, and I also tasted a couple of fasting foods, or upvas chi faral as they call it in Marathi. Basically foods that you eat when you're fasting. I tasted a sabudana khichdi and a sabudana vada. So very interesting episode, very different episode coming up on Gourmet on the Road, and this one is about Maharashtrian food and the iconic Mumbai vada pav. And moving on to the questions, the comments that I would like to address. Well, this is an interesting one. This comes from Sakina Khumri. Sakina says, hello sir, after seeing your video on Ranganna Military Hotel, I had been there, very disappointed with the taste, food quality and service. Would request you to give genuine reviews and comments in your video. Well Sakina, at the outset, it feels sad that you went to a place that was featured on Gourmet on the Road and you had a bad experience. Now at the outset, when we are tasting food in a restaurant, we're tasting the food that anybody eats. We're sitting at the restaurant like any other customer and we're eating that food. When I talk about a particular dish, I talk about my reactions with respect to the dish. I can guarantee you that it is genuine. It's what I feel about that particular dish at that point in time. When we go to a restaurant, we're paying our bills. In fact, even right now, right here, we've tasted a whole bunch of dishes, and I've got this big long bill right here that we've paid for. I think we've tasted some 11 or 12 dishes and we've paid for this bill. So every review that you see in Gourmet on the Road is genuine. Every review that you see in Gourmet on the Road is something that I've tasted and something that I genuinely felt. We don't do paid reviews. Now, it can so happen that sometimes, all of us have different tastes. What may appeal to you may not appeal to me, and what may appeal to me may not appeal to you. So sometimes it's just a question of that. Sometimes it's a question of expectations. So you're used to food in a certain way, and then you go in and you find the food is not in that particular way, in that particular style. You feel disappointed. It happens to me. I hear about some great restaurants, some great dishes from my friends, and I go there and I find that it's not what I had expected. I find it underwhelming. Now, is the food to blame there? Perhaps not. Sometimes it's just about what you expect from your taste perspective and what is dished out at the restaurant. The other thing that can also happen is that sometimes restaurants can have a bad day. Now, for instance, there are places that I go to, so let's say if I'm going to a particular biryani place which is iconic, I know that when I go to that restaurant at 12:30, I know the quality of the biryani that I eat there is going to be hugely superior to the biryani that gets served out at, let's say, 3:30 or 4. Now, whilst you may argue that should not be the case, but that is the case. The point is that this business is driven by people, and sometimes things can go wrong. Sometimes the cook can have a bad day, or sometimes things don't go right. There are chances that sometimes you may find the food in the restaurant to be not what you expected from the review. But I can assure you this one thing, that every review that we do at Food Lovers TV, every review that we present on Gourmet on the Road is 100% honest, sincere and genuine. So I do hope, Sakina, that you will continue to look at Gourmet on the Road reviews and go back and taste more food. Don't let one experience takeaway from your culinary or your foodie adventures. The next question is from Suresh Kumar. Suresh Kumar says, everything is good, but the sad part is your cameraman shooting these videos, that is you right there, without eating and seeing you eating in front of him. Believe you will treat him after the shoot. Well, you know, that's one of the things that food lovers, we are always surrounded by food. So every shoot that we go to, even when the cameras stop rolling, there is food always around. So Suresh Kumar, I appreciate your concern, but yes, there's a lot of food and all of us enjoy the food that's out here. A couple of shout outs. This one is by Hemant Trivedi. Hemant Trivedi writes to us from Texas. He says, I was gifted by YouTube with your first video for me to watch, which was you spending a couple of days at Harley Estates. Your coverage piqued my interest and followed you for some part of a Tamil Nadu food tour on the road. Coming back to introduce myself, I'm a now retired chef staying in Texas. I'm so much in love with food that I feel that at 70 years old, I need another set of next few lives cooking and enjoying the food. I love the way you speak about the dish. It makes my chef heart happy that there is a lover of food doing justice to a chef's effort to satisfy a client. Hemant, wonderful to hear from you all the way from Texas, and wonderful to learn that you are a chef. I feel the same way. A few lifetimes are not enough to taste all the glorious food that's out there waiting to be explored. Thank you so much for watching. There's also another message that we've received from Ramit 439. Ramit says, beautiful rundown of food explaining the history of Shivaji Hotel, their food preparations, and of course your personal way of making, eating food look so inviting and delicious. I can almost taste each morsel with you. Well, Ramit, that's certainly the intent. When I am out here tasting all these dishes, today I tasted 12 and to be honest, I feel quite stuffed at the end of it. I am tasting these for you, our viewers out there. When I'm tasting this, I want you to get a sense of what these dishes are all about. So thank you once again for all those comments, for all those queries, for all those questions. Keep them coming in. Do subscribe to Food Lovers TV. Share the videos on your social media channel. Do look out for this episode on Rajvardhan Foods covering the iconic Mumbai Vada Pav, Misal Pav and all the other dishes. And if you'd like to support Food Lovers, do log on to foodlovers.in and click on the Support Food Lovers banner. Until the next time, happy eating.